the ocean has its own wonders. And that's why I keep on going back. My name is Anthony Ochieng Onyango. I am a wildlife photographer from Nairobi in Kenya. Today, we are going to Kisite-Mpunguti Marine National Park to photograph some of the incredible sea life there. I'll talk you through how I take the photos and also how I edit them. So today I brought myself an R5 camera. I'm going to be focusing on wide underwater photography. Underwater photography has like two types of varieties. So you can either shoot wide images or you can shoot macro. So I'm going to be using the 11-16 lens. And definitely you can't go underwater without a housing. You need to protect your camera. So I have myself a housing that I'm going to be using. And then just to add some bit of light, because light really makes that image pops up. I'm going to be using 2 strobes on the side, and the light just adds the color. So when you go deeper, the color many turns into blue, so other colors disappear, but the light returns at the beauty of the color. So for those who are beginning in photography, what I'd advise is you can start with a phone, and on the phone you can buy a housing and definitely just be able to snorkel and take nice images of corals and any fish you find. Once you've rigged everything, put them together, the arms, the strobes, the camera is inside, well secured, and then finally we'll have a nice camera where you have now it's safe and secure, and then now you can go underwater. So let's go dive and see what we can get today. I need to always have my dive buddy because underwater you're not allowed to dive without a buddy. So we're now heading out to Kisite-Mpunguti, which is Marine National Park, and it's one of the blue spots along the Indian Ocean coast from the Kenya side. Taking those images is just how creative can you take an image to show the beauty of the coral in that particular state as much as they're bleached. So I did a couple of images. It was really challenging at some point where I had to make sure that my lights are in the same position to avoid backscatter. Backscatter is basically the spots you get on your image underwater, especially for the lights, because in water there are so many planktons that are moving. So if any source of light hits those particular planktons, they'll be there on your images. So I did like 1, 2, 3 shots. And then after that, when I realized there was backscatter on a couple of images, decided to like move the lights back just to make sure I have a nice image. Once I got it right, I went ahead and just shoot quite a number of fish. And I spent quite a lot of time just making sure that I have nice images across that particular site. When editing an image, I like to use a light touch to lift the image slightly so that it best represents what I saw in the ocean. Now, the big fish image is beautiful, so I'm just going to zoom in so you can see it. And you see the way they've actually clustered them together, so I felt it was nice to have like a bit of behavior. I'm actually cropping. The camera I'm using, it has a high megapixel, so it's easier for me to crop and just bring in the details. As you can see, they're a bit overexposed, so I'm going to reduce the exposure, pump up the contrast to bring in the colors out, especially for the red-eyed fish. And then if you see the way the highlights affect the fish itself, and then I'll reduce the shadows, and you can see the lines of the fish, the details of the fish, and the silvery feel of the big-eyed fish. So I'm always looking at my histogram just to make sure that I don't do any peaking of any of the colors and to make sure they are all right or in the center. I do a bit of the blacks. And I love my images with a bit of clarity. And I try as much as possible and keep them in a natural state. So always just play around with it and even find a way to do like a nice white balance just to have the colors pop out. This is my final image. I think I love it just the way it is. So this is before and this is after. And just beautiful, even seeing you guys dive and take pictures of the dive master. It was just interesting. Yeah, you can look at them, oh, it was beautiful. That's a nice shot. Wow. So this is also, we see like for this particular image, for this particular coral, it was small and I had to go down and then use the natural light to create like a shadow around it. So just to make it match make here. And this was also beautiful. Sometimes when you're underwater, you can actually be able to use the backdrop of the top of the ocean to just make it look much more beautiful. When you're shooting underwater, you can get different angles from above, from below. As much as this coral is dead, there's still life of fish around it. So what I'm going to do is the contrast, and then reduce the highlights. And then the shadow just helps me bring back light into this particular region. And then I play with the whites. I just love the way the whites just change the glare of the light from the sun from above. And then just increase it a bit with the exposure. Voila! Very simple, very straight to the point. Underwater photography can be incredibly challenging, especially sometimes when there are very strong currents. And when there are strong currents, it's difficult to stay still in that particular position for you to take the picture. The other challenge is sediments in water that are suspended that will make the visibility difficult and make your pictures murky. And then there's the aspect of temperature. When it is so cold underwater, you can imagine how difficult it is to even just handle your camera, and makes your dive shorter. We are still not so deep, and there was light coming through, so you can able to just reduce the shutter speed a bit. If you look at the settings, I was using like f8 with a shutter speed of 1 to 200, and the ISO was 320. So on this image, we have a surgeon fish and a sweet lips fish, and I just love it because of the colors, the yellow of the sweet lip and the black of the surgeon fish. And the reason why this surgeon fish is actually here is because this coral is dead, and when it's dead, algae tends to grow on top of it, so they feed on the algae. I'll reduce the exposure, and then over the contrast, you can bring in the yellows and the colors back, and then play around with the highlight and the shadow and the white, and just a bit of clarity, and then the texture, and then saturation thereabout. And I'm gonna crop it, and then we have before, and this is after. So these are the images of today. I just love the way they came out because one, there is no backscatter, it was clear, and you can even see the beautiful corals and the fish. So yeah, so I can't wait to share them online and talk about this particular place and how important it is in the conservation of marine ecosystems in Kenya. For me, the ocean is always like a puller because I don't know what I'll find underwater, and that's why I keep on going back. The ocean has its own wonders, and photography is a better tool to tell the stories. If you want to see the adventure I went on to getting these images, you can catch the episode on BBC Earth Explore YouTube channel.